next guest is the pride of Fort Jeff. He's the pride of Wagner College. He's the current head coach at Rocky Point. That's Darren Goldstein. How are you, Coach?
Doing real well, thank you.
Hey, the pride of Rocky Point also, Mr. Vetrano. Darren's done a lot for that golden little nugget on the North Shore of Long Island.
For sure. You know what? He's Coach. I don't make you blush. You're the pride of Suffolk County, and that's the truth. I mean, you've made your mark. But look, we could talk. You and I and Mike are wrestling junkies. We could talk for hours. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about everything. But Coach, look, you've had an unbelievable career. You've had multiple stops. You've won everywhere you've gone. Most notably at Rocky Point, you guys have been crushing it over, at least for season after season after season. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, how did you get your start in wrestling? I may know, Mike may know, but tell the world, how did you get your start at Port Jefferson in terms of whether it was a kid or middle school, high school? How'd you get interested in the sport?
So my diminutive size had a lot to do with it. I tried out for the basketball team. As one former coach of mine said, "Why did you go out for basketball? I got cut from the basketball team. I was upset, ran down the hallway. Maybe I was in 8th grade, and Joe Coloca, who was the coach of Mount Sinai at the time and helped out at Port Jeff and then was the first Mount Sinai varsity coach, said, "I don't know why you're going out for basketball. Come out for wrestling." So I did, and it changed my life.
Well, look, obviously we're all glad. There's so many people that you've benefited, and we're grateful on behalf of Suffolk County. Look, you had a stellar career in high school and even further in terms of your post high school at the Empire State Games. I kind of lost track of all the medals you've won, right? You've won multiple dual meet county titles. I think 3. You've won team county titles. You've placed in the state. Placed very high in the state. What's harder? Is it harder when you're wrestling in the finals of the Empire State Games, or is it harder to kind of clinch that tight dual meet in the Suffolk County Dual Meet Championship? What's harder, Coach?
The hardest thing is coaching. Coaching is much harder than competing. I can control what I do out there. Only one person to blame if I go out there and I blow it. I can just look at myself. What could I have done better? Could I have trained harder? Could I have sought out better competition or better coach? Whatever it was. When you're coaching, you're responsible for, not one match. You're responsible for all those kids, their matches, their relationship with their parents, which sometimes becomes a little bit frayed as, the parents, it's an emotionally charged atmosphere. So there's a lot more involved with that. And then obviously the pride of, building a program. And there's so much that's involved with, building a program for your town, making sure you don't step on, memories of the past. I mean, I'm just going to throw it over to Mike Torriero right there. He's the reason why kids in Rocky Point want to wrestle. He was our first state champ. I was, blessed enough to know Mike as a little kid when he was shorter than me and wrestled around with him. I think you kicked my leg out once, Mike.
I did. I definitely blew up. I'm remembering right now. Darren, you've done so much for so many of us. You opened the door for me and the greatest wrestler to ever come out of New York at the time, Jesse Jansen. You're the reason that me and Joe Morbillo and Anthony Morbillo, had the North Shore Wrestling Club. Jenna Burkhart was on, and credit to you to opening the world up to what the possibilities of wrestling could be. And so there's you're already in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what we can do for you more than you're not looking to do any of these things for your own good. It's apparent because of the success you've had with the number of athletes. Mike, can you read off we got Matty D, the best in the biz. He's got some pretty particular notes there that Coach Goldstein's accomplished at Rocky Point, my alma mater, the greatest place on Long Island. Can you read off a couple of those things?
Sure.
I just want to hear it again.
All right. And now look, 2017, and I don't even need the notes. 2017 and 2018, you won in the team county title. That was amazing, back to back. You won, and talk about back to back to back. You won 3 dual meet championships in a row. So everyone take a step back. It's hard enough to win an individual team title. You did it 2 years in a row, right? Then you won back to back to back individual, or I'm sorry, dual meet team titles. And Coach, you and I have talked about this a lot. There's a difference between winning a team title versus a dual meet title. They don't always go hand in hand, right? Sometimes it's different. I think there was candidly sometimes where you maybe had the best, tournament team in New York State, but maybe not the best, dual meet team in New York State. How did you put together a team like that, right? How did you put together a team that only could excel at we'll call it the team championship or the individual championship with the dual meet championship? I mean, to me, that's astounding.
Well, you always start out with what we're all trying to accomplish. So family, that's what we yell at the end of every practice, at the end of every match. And we kind of all pull for each other, in all sorts of, it's your brother next to you or your sister, because we have, girls on the team now. Jenna kind of set the standard for that. And we have 2 girls on our team now as well. It's you're pulling for the person next to you. You all have the sense of pride. When you go to Rocky Point, you know that you're going to have a target on your back if you're part of the wrestling team, and you're part of a program that has a long storied tradition. When I came on board, Robin Winkle, who really, first of all, as far as coaching goes, gave me my first shot coaching at the high school level. I was a JV coach to him way back in 1989. Then I made my go around a couple of stops, and then, finally found my way back there. But, Robin built this sense of family at a really, really early age that I kind of wanted to be caught up in. And I wanted that program to feel like we were just an extension of a family, another family, sometimes a family for kids that don't actually have family life. And so when you have that type of pride, you're not only trying to get your hand raised. I had a saying right from the very beginning: you're not a winner if you get your hand raised. I mean, that just means you won the match. But if you do everything right, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, inside your community, outside the community, inside your life and outside your life, if you do all those things right, those little things are going to add up and make it much more possible to be successful. Just one other thing that I really would be remiss if I didn't tell, I get credit for it. And yeah, I have the Hall of Fame accolade and I have all these things, but there were, literally 20, 30, 40 parents over the course of, this time period that set the foundation, that did the little things that sometimes people take for granted that were really huge things, like, driving kids to weigh-ins, modifying their diet, making it possible for me to go on trips. Mikey T and I, when we started, when we had the North Shore Wrestling Club, we traveled all over with a group of people. I mean, and I'm still blessed to have all these people in my life today. Mike being among them, obviously Jesse, Steve Brogley, Anthony and Joe Morbillo, all those guys that we had back then, but their parents as well. So it really was family. Don Jan, Mrs.
Well, so look, I want to talk about that a little bit though, because you are a program builder. You're one of the best that I've seen as far as incorporating as many people as they can, delegating tasks, allowing them to grow, never getting in their way, allowing them to score the touchdown. But you are the quarterback. And a lot of the success that I remember us having as youths, and because of you, was the ability to learn and wrestle freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. Talk about how important that is. I mean, we have the best coach in the state of New York, arguably, depending on what year it is. I mean, there's not too many people that have walked the earth and had 3 state champions in 1 year from one school. So we have your brain right now for a lot of other people to hear. Talk about the importance of freestyle and Greco, and how much you let these kids play with that style in the off season, and just your belief in that Olympic style of wrestling.
I mean, unfortunately, freestyle and Greco has kind of died out on the local level, which really hurts me till no end, because freestyle was that ability to still do what you love to do within the sport of wrestling, but have kind of a different set of rules and kind of have fun. Freestyle is exactly what it says. It's a freestyle. It's a style of wrestling that you can kind of, recreate yourself from what you are used to doing in your folk style season. And it gives you a little bit of a break, but still enhances the skills that transfer well over to what you need in the collegiate side of things. So for us, and as you well know, it was fun. You know, it was like a family. We'd meet, we'd wrestle, we'd scrap, we'd throw people around, we'd, get thrown around, we'd roll people on the mat, or, bow and arrow here, or a leg lace here, and we'd, you'd hip toss people. Like we would have fun doing it and not put so much pressure on what we had to do as far as like, we all like to win. Let's not, kid anybody, but it wasn't like, oh, if we lost the freestyle mat, it was the absolute end of the world. And I think that break is healthy from a mental aspect of the sport and wanting to get kids involved. It's freestyle is what you do with your friends on the front lawn. Obviously there's more technical parts to it, but it's like the purest thing of wrestling, of just grabbing somebody and rolling around with them and stuff that people do. So when that style has sort of kind of been shoved in the back part, I think that it hurt the sport overall. It certainly hurt, I feel like, the level of wrestling on Long Island. I mean, I grew up in an era where, Kerry McCoy, who, was a 250-pound monster that would freestyle you all over the place. And, there were just a bunch of different people that we had that would carry that on. And I'm going to say in recent years, even myself, I found it hard to carry on freestyle because nobody really wants to do it. However, what I found is a whole new group of people with the female wrestlers that, freestyle wrestling is like their jam. It's really what they like. I mean, they'll still do the folk style thing, but, the girls I have on my team want to learn freestyle, like soak it up like a sponge, and it makes me feel alive again. And I'm hoping to see that it makes a comeback. I've been talking to a lot of coaches on Long Island. I think that they understand that this is kind of a way to help grow the sport and, get it back going again. So I'm kind of hoping that regionally we can get it back. But freestyle wrestling is, I'm going to say, if not the most important component in making a better team, a better program, because off season is the key. If you have kids who are going to wrestle, they can play other sports, but if they're going to wrestle year round, you can't do the same thing. It'll get boring. They'll get complacent. So you have to throw these other things in there that they will enjoy. And I really do think once they wrestle in a couple of events and, learn a little bit more about the style, realize this is what you're seeing on the Olympics. This is what I'm watching on the World Championships. When you see that, I think that it really, goes a long way towards making at least my success that I had as a coach, possible.
Coach, when I've had the unfortunate of being on the other side of the mat many times and coming up on the wrong side most of the times. When I look at Rocky Point, I think of a family, right? I think of, that you guys are one family, but you guys, all the wrestlers, whether it's the lightweight to the heavyweight, whether it's the wrestler with the most accolades or the least accolades, wearing that Rocky Point singlet is a badge of honor. It's almost like armor, right? And how do you instill that? It's innate at this point in terms of, like you said, it's been multi decades from Coach Winkle all the way through now. But every wrestler that puts that Rocky Point Eagles singlet on or sweatshirt on, they walk around with a badge, like a badge of honor and armor. How do you instill that, Coach?
Well, it's secret to this area, so if you're not part of it, we can't. No.
Fair enough.
That's actually 100% right, Mike. If you're not on the North Shore in the little pocket, you're not drinking the water that's coming out from our faucets. You'll never really fully understand.
We're gonna get Coach Picozzi's spray bottle. Remember that water bottle? He used to put the secret water on there.
But look, I want to make note of one thing along with Darren here is that prior to me being to Darren stepping in or as full-time coach, he was on the wall as a superhero. He was running the youth club with a pair of red shoes, along with Kip Hankin, Chad Hankin, John Riley, Kiko. There's a group of Teddy Fabian. There's a group of guys during the Winkle years that Darren was coaching that instilled in my generation that winning is what happens. And, he took it to another level, obviously. To get back to the question, how did you bring it to the next level, Darren? Because you really did take a really great thing and turn it even better, a lot better. How did that happen?
Well, it was a vision that I'm kind of stubborn. I like to win. I mean, I don't fault people for not winning, but my goal was not to be one of the best teams in the county. That was never the goal. The goal was to be the best team in the county. And that's what I was going after from the beginning. But a key component to that is the kids I have coming back to the room that now come back as men. You know, my assistant coach right now, Billy Coggins, Anthony Volpe. Now we have Brennan Strovic. These are kids that went through the fight. And, you know, in the case of Anthony and Billy, they won a state championship. So everybody wants to be, they wanted to be you, Mike, and everybody wants to be them. Now, so
I still want to be Billy Coggins. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be Billy Collins or Volpe? I mean, I think everyone wouldn't mind being those. Yeah, look, you know, to talk about it, you guys have a college wrestling staff, right? You have obviously one of the most decorated head coaches in the state is you. You have 2 New York State champions on staff, right? And obviously have some many other folks that help, but you've built a program, right? You've built, and again, I don't want to take it from Coach Henkel. Fantastic teams, right? I was on the other side of some of those teams. Fantastic teams. As Mike T said, you brought it to another level, from the youth level to the middle school level. I think that you might be underselling. You guys do a great job on freestyle, the girls and women's wrestling, top tier coaches. What's next? Where would you like to see Rocky Point and the Eagle family go from here?
Well, you know, in the immediate future, I'd like to have some success in this little season that we have going on. But I think, you know, what motivates us is the belief that we can rebuild it again. So we took a little step back recently in terms of, you know, maybe not winning as much as we had for the past decade or so, graduated a lot of wrestlers who went on to, you know, colleges and went on to work and stuff. And now taking the time to build that up again and really enjoy those moments kind of motivates, you know, not only me, but, you know, the coaches that I have on my staff in believing that we can do it, you know, because there was a long time where, especially when I was, you know, growing up, it was Longwood, Sachem, you know, not when I was growing up, when I first started coaching, it was like the big schools, Sachem, Patchogue with Craig Kelsky and, you know, Mr. Mahoney over the combined Sachem and, you know, all those guys. And, you know, a little school never really had their chance to shine. I mean, I was blessed enough to go to Port Jeff when we won the state cup and we took second in the county, you know, back in 1985. I was part of that program, you know, that kind of fell short of winning that county tournament. So that was the goal, that the second I became a coach was what the goal was to almost expunge that from my system, because it was distasteful to never have won that. And that's also the reason why I continue to wrestle, because I never really reached the goals in high school that I had set out for myself. I picked up freestyle and Greco-Roman and enjoyed that, and then traveled all over and got to meet some great people and be part of great things. So I live a very blessed life right now in the situation that I'm in. And I don't, you know, at all think, oh, you know, I had nothing to do with it. There's just so many other people that my success has been predicated, or our success as a program has been predicated on, that, you know, it would be very foolish of me to ever say, oh, you know, this is how I did it, because it's, you know, just so many other people. I mean, I could be, you know, pushing that button over there and doing that over there, but, you know, I was a social worker before I was a teacher. So I started a federal grant called Project Fresh Start that allowed me to start the first North Shore Wrestling Club that we had. And then when that ran out, I was just like, you know what, let's continue this on, because the wrestling room is just another form of classroom. So as an educator, I want to have an impact on as many kids as I can that become young men. And now I look around, and one of my, you know, I have great pictures of, and I should share them one day, of me and Mike, you know, Michael, but I have a great picture of me and Corey Dolson from Mattatuck, who, you know, along with Mike, brought Mattatuck into, you know, prominent.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for real quick, because I want to ask you one question before Mike wants to close up. But I want to make one note here, Mike Petrano. I don't know what year it was, but both small school and large school New York State champions, when you go to the root of the person, they come from that little hub called Rocky Point. That's Coach Dalston and Coach Goldstein. Both have ties back to the North Shore, our little hamlet, and to Rocky Point. Now, One question for you, Coach, because I know that Mike probably has a couple things that he wants to talk to you about, but in one sentence, a couple sentences or less, what's the best piece of advice that you've been given? What's the best piece of advice that you go out and provide to your athletes, your student athletes?
All right. So real quick, my college coach was Kevin Gallagher, who's the Menacing Valley head coach from upstate. And he instilled in us in college this mentality of WIT, whatever it takes. And a lot of people see it on our singlets, and a lot of people have it tattooed to them. And basically, it's a premise that you do whatever it takes to be successful, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, inside the wrestling room and outside the wrestling room. But the whole process is you just want to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. And I want to be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today. And that's how progress moving forward gets done. And he instilled that in me, and I try to instill it in the program, and it's ingrained in the fabric of who we are.
You know, Coach, again, we could talk for hours, but I want, you know, I could read off all your stats and your accolades, but really, Coach, the thing that stands most out to me is your open door policy to everyone. I mean, you've changed so many lives, you've in a positive way, whether it was getting, you know, the hand raised or helping kids out. Your room is open really to everyone, right? Even the non-Rocky Point guys like me. I mean, I know that you're gracious. You have kids from all over the place, right? So to me, it's not even a question. I want to thank you for everything that you've done, obviously for helping Mike and others along the way, but really you've helped all of Suffolk County. You continue to do so, and I'll be rooting for the Eagles, and I'm glad to call you a friend of mine. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate it. I have one other thing I want to share real quick. Mr. Torriero, you there?
I'm listening to you.
You must make it your business to come to a match next year when COVID is listed. There's something that's long overdue that we have prepared for you that the people of Rocky Point want to give to you. It'll be your state championship ring, and there'll be a Mike Torriero day. And and I'm not kidding. And
it's well deserved, Mikey. Well deserved.
That's I don't even know how to react to that. That's mighty humbling and you know, not worth anybody's effort.
Say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You're making me blush.
Torriero speechless, and I'm doing something.
That's hard. Look, the last thing I want to say is that's the epitome of Coach Goldstein. You're not only a coach during the season, outside of the season, you're a coach and a mentor for life. And I appreciate it. Everyone appreciates it. That's Coach Goldstein of the Rocky Point Eagles, WIT, whatever it takes. We'll see you around, Coach. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, guys.